Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
The national reports that have linked you to the potential opening at Florida, your reaction to that?
Oh, no. I tell everybody my next move's going to be to Crescent Beach, Florida, whenever that is. That's my next move, whenever that is.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome into a Talking Tuesday here on Sports Talk. You heard from Steve Spurrier and you heard from Dabo Sweeney as they met with reporters today to talk about the upcoming games. The Gamecocks heading to Auburn, and the Tigers going to welcome in the Orange of Syracuse for homecoming Saturday night. We'll hear more from the two coaches coming up shortly, and then we'll take your calls about what they had to say. Phil Kornblut, Kevin McCrary, the Professor Tom Hayes here with you tonight. In basketball, Clemson this afternoon gets a commitment from a junior college center, a 7-footer by the name of Legend Roberton. He's a native of London. He goes to Chipola Junior College, where one Cliff Ellis once played and coached. And he's headed to Clemson after committing to Brad Brownell today. We'll tell you more about that. We're scheduled to talk with his coach in the second hour, pending his practice being concluded at that time. We'll also update Tevin Mack for you. That situation continues to it continues to roll along, but it also continues to tread water because he still hasn't made a decision. But he was back over at USC today to watch practice. But he also had an in-home visit from Brad Brownell today. And Shaka Smart and the entire VCU staff were in to see him last night. So that continues to be a very tight recruiting situation. More on all that coming up. But as far as football is concerned, I was at Clemson today. And, one thing, the theme of Dabo Sweeney's talk today, guys, was we're not taking anybody for granted, even though Syracuse is 3-4, and they've got their third-string quarterback, a freshman, in there now, and they're coming to Death Valley. And last year, Clemson put, over 500 yards on the board against him. Taj Boyd threw for 5 touchdowns and 455 yards. They're not taking Syracuse lightly. They want to approach Syracuse as they would any of the bigger games, the so-called bigger games on their schedule. As far as injuries go, today in practice and tomorrow in practice, Tyshawn Dye is expected to go through full contact for the first time. If everything checks out with him, he should be good to go and help out some on Saturday. K-Mac was at USC today, where you popped the big question at the end of the news conference.
Oh, yeah, the Spurrier to Florida question, which was, as we all knew, those reports were crazy, but
you never know until you ask.
You've got to ask. And it coming from outlets like CBS Sports and the Sporting News, you ask and you heard his response.
Everybody knows that Jeremy Foley, if you're 45 and over, you don't get hired. I mean, that's just been his pattern at Florida. He likes young guys.
His pattern has been to hire not such great coaches, sans Urban Meyer, who had great success.
Had Billy Dunham.
Not the greatest guy.
We'll be right back. right, it's a Talking Tuesday here on Sports Talks. We want to get right to the coaches tonight, Steve Spurrier and Dabo Sweeney, who met with the media today, as they do on Tuesday afternoons. And our Talking Tuesday coverage here on Sports Talk is brought to you by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork powered by soy. Let's lead off with Steve Spurrier. K-Mac, you were at the Gamecock press conference today.
Yeah, the Gamecocks getting set for a trip to Auburn, where they have not won since Franklin Roosevelt was in the White House. Corn was 17 years old in 1932 when the Gamecocks won that matchup. Here's the head ball coach.
Going to Auburn, the loveliest village on the plains is what they used to call that. Do they still call it that, Glenn? Yeah. And, Auburn's a good team, as we all know. Went to the national championship game last year. Had a wonderful chance to win it. Didn't quite do it. But I think they're number 5 in the country right now. Had a loss to Mississippi State, a game that they could have won, but they sort of got stymied in the red zone a bunch. Had kicked some field goals and this, that, and the other. And Mississippi State had a very good game, and I guess Mississippi State's still number 1 in the country. But they run the ball extremely well and certainly very capable of throwing the ball. Their defense, very solid. Ellis Johnson's been doing it a long time, as we all know, and he's got an excellent bunch of athletes, well coached. So it'll be a challenge for us. We've got to play our A game, bring our A game, and see if we can get a break or two, see what happens at Auburn Saturday night. We should be getting a few of our injured guys back. Brandon Wiles should be able to play probably. David Johnson, a defensive end that was injured the last 3 or 4 games, should be back ready also. JT Surratt is still a little bit doubtful. And the bad news is Buster Anderson. Buster, we think, tore his tricep, his other tricep, and could be out 2 or 3 weeks or even longer. So that was some bad news we received yesterday after the MRI showed that he had a tear. But Buster was having a good year, excellent year, and Jarrell Adams now will probably be the tight end, gets a few more balls thrown his way. And Cody Gibson, of course, does a good job in there also. But other than that, we're looking forward to the ball game, night game again. We seem to be ESPN's favorite night team, as we'll play Tennessee at the same time, I think, at 7:30 game. So we'll look forward to going to Auburn and see how we can match up against those guys. All right, any questions?
See anything Saturday or in the tape that makes you believe you're okay at quarterback if something should happen?
Something happened to Dylan? Oh, the guys struggled a little bit, but we had some bad plays on. We really did. Connor Mitch had a chance. Actually, that one play he ran, our tight end didn't block the right guy. But other than that, our protection broke down a couple of times. We didn't have the right protection on another play. So it was a combination of some guys missing the call and the quarterbacks. Perry had one knocked down. Guy just happened to get his hand up in the throwing lane, but they're doing okay. They're doing okay. How well they'll do if they had to play a whole bunch, I don't know. We haven't got to that yet, and hopefully we can keep Dylan healthy through the rest of the year. We think Dylan's a good player, very good player, and the backup kids are coming around. Hopefully they won't have to play too much. So,
Steve, you guys have won your share against top 5 teams the last 4 or 5 years. Even if the talent level right now isn't perhaps where you want it, do you feel like that still breeds a certain level of confidence going into Saturday?
Oh, you got to believe you got a chance if your team plays very well. So we're going with the idea that we're going to get in a battle with them. We know we got to play very well offensively, defensively, and on special teams. And maybe hopefully they'll drop the ball a little bit or something good like that will happen for us. But like I said last week, the only pressure on us is play the best we can. Play the best we can. We'll try to coach the best we can, see what happens.
You mentioned their rushing offense, and your rushing defense has troubled you. Is that the matchup that worries you the most Saturday?
Well, it is whatever it's going to be. We'll get a bunch of guys up there and see if we can slow them down, see if we can stop them. They'll obviously make some yards, but we beat Georgia, and we got to believe if we have a game similar to the Georgia game. Georgia's actually number one, I think, in the conference running the ball, and Auburn's probably 2 or 3, something like that. But yeah, you got to always have hope that something good can happen, like happened for us the Georgia game.
I know you don't watch much of their, if any of their offensive tape, but what does he do to run the ball so effectively out of that offense?
They got good blockers too. They got a good scheme of things, and they, as some people say, they put a lot of guys in motion, but they're blocking a similar scheme, and their quarterback's a runner too. Your quarterback, when he can run, that's a whole new thing for every defense. And pretty much college football, even the pros a little bit are going to a little bit more quarterback run. But you look around the colleges, the good offenses now, you see so much quarterback run, which is another guy that defense has to count for somehow. So I think that's what they do extremely well. When Cam Newton was there, he could run all over the place too. So that's where he is.
Did you see enough from the defense last week with the 3 turnovers and to feel more confident about that?
Oh, I think our guys played about as hard. That's all you can ever ask. Play as hard as you can. We had Michael Washington, walk-on kid, in there. Played pretty well. Got a fumble. Our other guys were, in there doing the best they could. But we still looking for improvement. Hopefully we can improve as we go through the season and finish strong. This is, I guess this will be the highest ranked team we will play all year for the rest of the year anyway. But we're looking forward to going over there and giving it our best shot, see what happens.
Steve, any update on Bryson Allen Williams and Jonathan Walton?
Yeah, Bryson Allen Williams is back. He's back practicing last night, and Jonathan Walton, we think, should be okay by the weekend. He had a slight concussion last week, but his symptoms are much improved.
And is Landon Ard your kickoff guy again?
Yeah, Landon's back. Yeah, we had a tryout during the open date for the kickoff, and Landon won the job and did an excellent job last week. 6 out of 8 went to the end zone. So excellent by Landon. Okay.
You had mentioned last week that you thought about plugging in a backup at a set time during the game against Furman, and obviously didn't do that. Looking back, did you think that would have been beneficial some time during the season?
I don't think so. I don't know how it would have been beneficial. Dylan's our quarterback, and if he were to sustain an injury, I'm not so sure Pharaoh wouldn't play half the time, probably. Give us a chance to run and throw. Pharaoh's a pretty good passer too. But the other guys, if they need to go play, they'll go play. Simple as that.
So I know you said this is your last stop, but the national reports that have linked you to the potential opening at Florida, your reaction to that?
Oh, no. I tell everybody my next move's going to be to Crescent Beach, Florida, whenever that is. That's my next move, whenever that is. All right, thanks. See ya.
All right, Steve Spurrier from his press conference earlier today, and all of it's up on our website, sportstalksc.com.
So, Crescent Beach isn't that far from Gainesville.
70 miles,
yeah.
I think. I told you how he's going to go back to Florida last night. I don't need to repeat myself on that.
Yeah.
I think he's going to go back.
Why do you think we're not hearing a lot of heat?
But by the time he goes back there, he might as well be in a box. I mean, because he'll be at that stage.
I think Spurrier's going out of everybody.
I think the heat going to turn up on Dan Mullen to go back to Florida.
Well, I mean, if the job comes open, they'll have no shortage of quality candidates for it. We'll be back in a moment. All right, busy day here on Sports Talk. You've heard from Steve Spurrier, Dabo Sweeney coming up. Clemson gets a big man basketball commitment. USC baseball gets a junior college right-hander. Clemson picks up a high school third baseman who has the name of Keyboom. That's right. He's related to the Keybooms that played ahead of him at Clemson. Tell you all about that coming up in our recruiting report in a little bit.
And Brad Brunell can always say it. He signed a center at Clemson that was a legend before he even played a game.
Legend Roberton.
Okay.
I've been practicing that. Roberton. The emphasis on the Bert part of his name. Roberton. Okay. From London, England, via Believe Prep in Rock Hill over to Chipola Junior College in Florida. More on him coming up. Let's hit the phones. 800-956-7266, and it's Randy in Lancaster. Up first tonight, we'll hear from Dabo Sweeney coming up. Hey, Randy, how are you?
I'm doing good. I just want to make a quick comment, question. Do you think that Steve Spurrier have done the best he can do at South Carolina? What's your input on that?
Has he done the best he can do at South Carolina? Well, I mean, the best would be, of course, to win a national championship.
Well, I think he's asking, has he reached his ceiling?
Right. I don't think he has.
You think they're going to win a national championship under Spurrier?
Well, I think the best any coach can do is win a national championship. When you say in a Power 5 league with a team and a program like South Carolina, there's no restraints on South Carolina other than the restraints they might put on themselves.
So do you think Spurrier's going to do that? Do you think Spurrier's going to have a better season than the 11-win seasons that he's had at South Carolina? Is there an SEC championship in there?
Absolutely, I think it's possible.
I mean, he's running out of years. I think guys, he is almost 70.
I think it all depends on what happens at quarterback in the next couple of years will be huge. They've got talent coming in the 2015 class. They're already starting to build the 2016 class, but the 2015 class looks very good. It all revolves around your quarterback, more or less. I mean, if you can have a great defense, of course, that's big. If you have a great player like a Clowney or a Vic Beasley or somebody like that, that's great. But you got to have a quarterback in college football the way it's evolved today. And, Dylan Thompson has done a really fine job for them. I do think they missed the element of the running game from the quarterback position, which is big in college football today. They might get that back with the next guy.
I think offensively they're as good as they've been.
Lorenzo Nunez.
I think you could make an argument that this is one of the better offenses since Steve Spurrier's been here in his 10 years.
It's about the same in terms of numbers, awful. But I think that I think they missed the element of what Connor Shaw could bring on 3rd and 10. If something wasn't there in the passing game, he could go get the first down with his legs. Dylan can't really do that on a regular basis. But you're right. The defense is probably the biggest reason that has held them back this year has been the overall play of the defense.
Some of those times that Dylan pulled some of those times.
No, it doesn't, because
pulled it down.
2 times they had a chance with the offense to go win games, and they didn't do it.
2 times they had a 14-point lead with 7 minutes to play. Who gave up the points?
Yeah, the defense did.
Okay.
But you also need your offense to be able to go down and get a score when you're behind. And twice they didn't do it.
And the defense to get a stop when you're up 2 scores.
They went 3.
Minutes.
We blame both sides. I mean, both sides can bear the brunt of the blame.
Defense.
Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network from downtown Columbia, a Talking Tuesday. We've heard from Steve Spurrier. Now time to hear from Dabo Sweeney. Brought to you by South Carolina soybean farmers and their checkoff. Learn more at scsoybeans.org. Pork powered by soy. All right, let's get to what Dabo Sweeney had to say today at his press conference. Of course, it was homecoming, and he wanted to tell everybody to come on in and have a great time and welcome the alums back and just enjoy the day and the night at Clemson, celebrating homecoming number 100 for Clemson. Then he got down to the business of talking about his team and the opponent coming up, which is Syracuse.
Had some tough losses, to good teams. They lost to Notre Dame, lost Florida State, lost Louisville, and Maryland. And all those teams obviously are having excellent years, and but they are coming off their best game of the season versus Wake Forest at Wake Forest. They've had some injuries, lost their starting quarterback and several other guys, but it really seems like they've kind of found their guy at quarterback in that little freshman, number 4. And I tell you, the more I watch him, the more impressed I am. He is got a little bit of a kind of a gunslinger's mentality to him. Very confident. Really just kind of stone face. Watching him on tape. I mean, really wasn't overwhelmed when he got thrown in there in some tough situations. He's made some big time throws. He's accurate. He's not a big guy, but he plays big. And, he's doesn't seem to have a hard time, seeing through the line of scrimmage and making the throws that he needs to make. He's made some really nice deep throws. They made some outstanding competitive plays outside one-on-one against, good people. So we've got to, really do a great job, I think, this week. Maybe more so than any week on the back end defensively with our secondary. Our secondary is really going to be challenged because the ball comes out quick. They do not hold the ball. And so the competitive plays, when the ball goes up and it's a one-on-one situation, somebody's got to make the competitive play. And that's where I think our team is going to be challenged this week. And not just the competitive play down the field, but defeating blocks on the perimeter because they do get the ball outside quickly. In their screen game, and so defeating blocks and winning at the point of attack, not just in the trenches, but in the secondary, I think is going to be at a premium this week with how these guys play. They're just very aggressive, and if you look at them defensively and offensively, that's their mentality. Very aggressive in their approach. Defensively, they got 3 of their 4 starting guys back up front. I think they're better this year defensively than they were last year. And, but they still have that same approach. They're going to force the issue. And if you're not, dialed in and you don't have all 11 guys on the same page, then your quarterback's going to get hit. And if you watch the Wake Forest game this past week, they scored twice on defense and quarterback gets hit, tip ball. Next thing you know, defensive lineman's got it and he's celebrating in the end zone. And so those are the type of things you got to do a great job of. When you play this bunch. I mean, you better be on your A game as far as targeting guys and communication, making sure that everybody understands, what the call is. And, even if we're all wrong, we're all right. We got to all be on the same page because they bring pressure from all over the place. And, again, just very aggressive in how they call things. But, for us, one of the things I tell our guys every week is it's really not about who we play. It's kind of rearranging those 3 letters. It's about how we play. And, and how we play is really based on how we prepare and how we practice during the week. And so for us, our focus is just on, trying to keep improving, trying to continue to build momentum within our season and, just trying to treat each game really as a 1-game season. That's really kind of the approach that we're taking. And, we'll see where we are, at the end of the year. So for us, it's Syracuse this week, but it's really about, how the Tigers practice and prepare this week. Had a good start last night, but today and tomorrow are, really critical days from a physical standpoint and seeing where our team is. And then, Thursday is kind of polish it all up. And then it's mental from that point. But I think injury-wise, everybody's back at practice this week, other than obviously Adam Choice and Leggett, who will be out. But everybody else is, from this past week is back in practice and rocking and rolling, and we've added Martin Jenkins as well. With that, I'll take y'all's questions.
Coach, how do you guard against maybe a letdown this week? I know Boston College, Louisville with the great defenses, but can you see where I'm coming from?
Not really. Just because, I'm just serious because they like that scoreboard up. It matters. And, I just know that for us, our team, they understand, how hard it is to win. I don't care who you play. And if we go into this game with the mindset that because we look at their record and you think all of a sudden that, you're supposed to just show up, win this game, you get beat. Been there, done that. It's just the way it is. And so our mentality is every game's a one-game season. And if you really have that mentality, then you're going to put your best foot forward each and every week, preparation-wise. And, we just don't really focus on the opponent a whole lot. We really don't. That's what I mean. It's every Friday night. I got a big graphic. It's not about who, it's about how. Yes, we got to prepare for, whoever we're playing and what they do, but we don't spend a lot of time talking about the opponent. They're all just kind of, a season to themselves, and we respect every opponent, but we don't really get caught up in, what their records are or whatever. It's this, hey, this is what we have to be prepared for this week. These are the fronts, the coverages, the blitzes, formations, plays, and let's apply what we do. Let's practice, and then let's go play to a standard, each and every week. That's how we talk. That's what but listen, our guys have won a bunch of games because of that mentality. We won a bunch of games, and, this is a team that's dangerous, in my opinion. They're a football team that's got good players. They play fast. They're well coached. They're tough. They play physical, and they're aggressive. I respect this bunch just as much as Florida State or anybody else we play. If you go into a season with the mentality of, okay, we're going to really get up for this game, well, then we can just cruise here, and then we'll really get up for this game. Well, the fans may do that, but that's why they're sitting in the stands. They'd be without a job quick if they were playing or coaching, because you just can't have that mentality. You only get 12, and at the end of the year, we're going to be evaluated based on how we did in those 12. Period. And so every one is a huge game. So we got nothing to have any type of letdown. We're trying to fight and scratch and claw and get ourselves where I think that we're capable of being.
Your offensive linemen the last 2 weeks, kind of the growth, the guts performance they've played for you, and playing every play for the last 2 games.
Competing. They're having fun. We're getting a lot out of some of those guys, a lot out of some of them, and they're giving us everything they got. Really proud of Battle and Beasley in particular as far as how they competed this past week. Reed Webster's done a little bit of everything for us. Kalen has done everything. Crowder's a guy that is improving. We just don't have a bunch of people right now. We got help on the way, but we got what we got, and I love our guys.
All right, Dabo Swinney from his press conference earlier today. He also said in response to the most intelligent question of the day, and that is, does Deshaun Watson get his starting job back as soon as he's healthy? And his answer was yes. And, of course, you probably know who asked that question since it was the most intelligent one asked.
And guess who answered?
A one-word answer?
And guess who answered that question for you last night?
It wasn't a completely one-word answer. He said, yes, he is our starting quarterback.
And that was that.
And you don't lose your job because of an injury. right, caller off the air asked us if Adam Choice had a red shirt available to him after tearing his ACL last week against Boston College. He does not. Too late in the season for him to receive one of those, based on how they normally handle those things. Once you get past a certain point in the season, you're not eligible, especially if you've played as much as he has.
And we'll wait till the season plays out, just like the people in Florida are waiting. But I'm not so certain. We've seen Clemson with their high-octane offenses over the years at a burgeoning defense, and Clemson get into the top 5 rankings. But Clemson fans, especially, I'm talking to you, don't be surprised if you look at all the injuries you've had this year, especially, and the shifting at quarterback, if this is not Dabo Swinney and his staff's best coaching job.
Could turn out to be.
The record may not be the same, but you look at what they've had to deal with.
They've got a very solid chance to win 11 games. They got a very good chance to win out and then win a bowl game. That's an 11-win season. I think they would sign up for that.
They have to beat South Carolina. I mean, that really, because if not, it's going to be the same season they've had in years past, where they're going to go, yeah, you beat all the teams that you were supposed to beat, but you had 3 tough games, Georgia, Florida State, and South Carolina, and you lost all 3. So that's why that countdown clock is up now, and they know it.
All right, let me get to the recruiting report, and then we'll get back to your phone calls here on Sports Talk. Recruiting is brought to you by South Carolina's Electric Cooperatives, sponsors of the 2014 Touchstone Energy Bowl. That's coming up December 13th in Myrtle Beach, and, of course, we hope to see you there for that. All right, we begin with the basketball side of things. Again, 7-foot center legend Roberton, a native of London who attends Chipola Junior College in Marianna, Florida, commits to Clemson today, second commitment for the 2015 class. He actually attended Believe Prep in Rock Hill for 2 months before transferring to the junior college last January. He went back to London first and then enrolled at the JC. This will be his first season playing basketball at Chipola, leaving him 3 years to play at Clemson. The coach there is Patrick Blake, and he said that Clemson's new assistant coach, Coach Riley, did a great job of forming a relationship, and Brownell came down as well to visit with him, and they just hit it off right away. Coach said there were a lot of schools showing interest, from Pittsburgh to Oklahoma State to Alabama to Tennessee. He said a long list of schools. Roberton has not taken any officials yet and probably won't visit Clemson until after the season, according to his coach. He ran track until he was 16 or 17 and has only been playing basketball for the last 2.5 years. 7 foot, 250 with 4% body fat. He runs the floor extremely well. Sounds to me like, from the coach, and hopefully we're going to talk to him the next hour, he's a little bit undeveloped on the offensive side of things. But he runs the floor well, can rebound, can block a shot, and, of course, he's just big. Meantime, 6'5" Tevin Mack of Dreer, busy day for him. He went back over to USC to watch practice, and he talked briefly with head coach Frank Martin. Just made his official visit with the Gamecocks over the weekend. Mack also had in-person visits today from Brad Brownell and Georgia assistant Philip Pearson. And he talked with Connecticut coach Kevin Ollie and VCU coach Shaka Smart. His entire staff were in for a visit Monday night. As for where the decision process stands, Mack said he's not 100% sure yet. Signing day, he says, not until November 12th, so it will be before that, but he doesn't know exactly when. He said it's really any day now. Could be tomorrow or the day after that or 2 weeks from now. He said there is no leader among the 5, and he does plan to go to USC Sunday for its exhibition game against Benedict. Football. USC commitment, defensive end Quandeski Whitlow, Opelika, Alabama, has been committed since June, has held to that pledge, but schools are still coming at him. He said Louisville, Kentucky, Mississippi State, and Nebraska have all been coming at him pretty hard. He's got his official with USC set for January 24th. He's got one to Louisville January 17th. He also plans to visit Kentucky and Mississippi State, but no dates have been set. Says he's still 100% committed to South Carolina. Says he's from a small town, so he wants to get out and see some places like Starkville. And we'll see what happens once he takes those visits.
Nothing to see there, buddy.
That's my point. In baseball, Spartanburg Methodist Junior College right-hander Hayden Heflin On their roster, he's listed at 5'9", 146. He committed to USC. And last season, he was 2-0 with 1 save, a 3.86 ERA in 9 games. He struck out 14, walked 8 in 18 2/3 innings. He played his high school ball at Pinewood Prep, originally committed to the College of Charleston while in high school. And according to the Tiger Insider, Carter Keyboom, a junior third baseman, has committed to Clemson. He's out of Marietta, Georgia, and he's the youngest of the Keyboom boys who will play at Clemson. Of course, his 2 brothers have already gone through, Spencer and Trevor. Like I said, he'll be a third baseman. All right, there you go with recruiting. Back in a moment. All right, let's get back to the phones, 800-956-7266. John in Greenville, you're up next here on Sports Talk. Good evening. How are you?
Hi, Phil. Doing fine. How are you? I just wanted to, you made a comment earlier that a drive towards the national championship starts with the quarterback. What we've got coming in as far as recruiting for the next year and what we've got coming back, you sort of say that Clemson should have a run at the national title in the next couple of years, correct?
Oh, absolutely. In that league, with the quarterback they've got and the players coming in to surround him with, now they're going to lose some people off their defense this year, but they've got plenty of young people. No, they've got plenty of guys who'll be back. I mean, you'll miss a Vic Beasley, you'll miss a Corey Crawford, but they've got people who've been playing behind them. The secondary will all be back at Clemson. Most of the linebackers will be back. Kicking game is, I think Pinion's a senior, but I think the kicker obviously is young. Clemson returns plenty from this year's team to be considered. They finish up strongly this year. They'll start off next year well inside the top 10, I think.
Except they lose so much on defense.
Well, I just said they lose their defensive ends, but they
lose all their
defensive.
They lose their front 7. They lose Stephon Anthony. They lose Grady Jarrett. They lose Vic Beat. They lose.
They've got Gabe Wilkins back.
They get their secondary guys back, who are very good.
They have guys who they rotate a lot of guys in and out of their defensive line, and they're going to lose some quality players, but I think they've got some good players back.
South Carolina rotated defensive linemen, and when the others leave,
I think they're going to take a step back, at least up front on defense, and their linebackers. They lose Tony Stewart. I'm not saying they don't have good guys and they won't pick right up where they left off, but I'm a little skeptical that that's going to happen. Their defense right now, to me, is when they're clicking, they're one of the best that I've seen in person this year out of the defense. You know, they outplayed Florida State's defense in Tallahassee. They've won with that defense each of the past 2 weeks. They scored 2 offensive touchdowns. The defense has scored 1. I'm pretty darn impressed with that defense.
Well,
I do think they take a step back defensively.
They got Shaq Lawson coming back. They got Carlos Watkins. I think I called him Gabe Watkins. They got Carlos Watkins coming back. They got Shaq Lawson coming back. They got Jadar Johnson, Jerron Curse. They got Boulware coming back. Corin Wiggins returns.
But talk about the guys they're losing. Mention those names. Those are big-time players that are going to be in the NFL.
They're going to lose Beasley. They're going to lose Garrett. They're going to lose Josh Watson.
NFL.
They're going to lose Tony Stewart, Stephon Anthony.
NFL.
Yeah, they take a hit up front. Right. What I'm saying, though, DJ Reader returns. These guys all play a good bit as well. They'll get Travis Blanks back off of his redshirt year this year.
That's the key. Who's going to back them up? See, they were backing up.
I'm
some
drawing up
All-Americans
Blanks right now.
Well, I mean, they've recruited extremely well. I mean, they've got guys coming in, and they've got a recruiting class coming in that's going to be ranked in the top 5. If
Corn's
you go
already.
by that kind of stuff.
He said the Gamecocks are going to be undefeated this year too.
Okay.
Eternal optimist, Phil Corn.
Is there a reason I'm under attack here tonight?
You're just wrong.
Because your mouse is breaking.
No, I'm right, and you can't deal with the fact that I'm right.
Wow.
Top of the hour break. We'll be back.
Live from Columbia, this is Sports Talk on the South Carolina Radio Network. Be a part of tonight's show. Call us at 800-956-7266 or email talkback@sportstalksc.com. Now, here are your hosts for Sports Talk, Phil Kornbluth, Kevin McCrary, and Tom Hayes.
Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network here on a Friday night. More of your calls coming up. We're also going to talk with Patrick Blake, the coach at Chipola Junior College, the coach of the big man who just committed to Clemson. That'll be coming up just a couple of minutes. Stay tuned for that. Now it's time for our high school football report for tonight, brought to you by South Carolina Farm Bureau Insurance. And today, the South Carolina High School League issued a statement on the Camden-Dreer situation following the two teams getting into a brawl, some players, following their game on Friday night. This was during the handshake line that this fight erupted. And so the statement from Tammy Newman, the PR director for the high school league, is as follows. South Carolina High School League, Camden High School, and Dreer High School are each actively taking part in the investigation of the unfortunate incident that occurred after the football game between the two teams. We are counting on each school's full cooperation and participation in the matter and hope to resolve this as soon as possible. The South Carolina High School League is comprised of over 200 member schools who strive to uphold the historical expectation that South Carolina high school athletes maintain an elevated level of sportsmanship, scholarship, and honor before, during, and after all athletic events. The Friday evening post-game behavior displayed by some of the athletes is inexcusable and will not be tolerated. The safety of our students, coaches, fans, and community at large is of the utmost importance during any high school league sporting event. We will bring this investigation to a conclusion once all information has been received and assessed. It's from the high school league. So most unfortunate that happened. And I tell you what it might lead to eventually is the elimination of the post-game handshakes. Some teams will not do that now. I believe Marlboro County and Conway, for example, they've had issues in the past. I don't believe they shake hands after their games when they do play because of the problems they've had in the past. And I think I'm right about those two schools. Some schools, their coaches just send their players back to the locker room or to the bus because of the chance of something breaking out when these teams and these players go down the line.
That's a shame because, what are we if you can't shake the hands of your opponents, and we've all been to college games that have gone down to the wire, knockdown, drag out games. Clemson and South Carolina, I know they had the brawl during the game a decade ago, but they usually meet in the middle of the field, shake hands. Sometimes they, pray, do whatever they're going to do. You should be able to shake hands and not be afraid of a brawl breaking out. And if it does break out, you should kick those teams out of the playoffs.
The basic understanding is you have a coach and a staff, and you have a team and teammates because there's somebody to play on the other side of the field. And respect that you have an opponent, because without an opponent, you don't play football.
Well, it's unfortunate that it has to come to that kind of thinking, and hopefully they'll resolve this and come to a good solution. Be right back. Okay, we're back at Sports Talk, South Carolina Radio Network here on a Talking Tuesday. We'll get back to your phone calls in just a couple of moments. We continue to talk with important people tonight. We've heard from Steve Spurrier and Dabo Sweeney. Now I want to welcome in Coach Patrick Blake from Chipola Junior College in Florida. His big guy, Legend Roberton, is headed to Clemson, making that commitment known today. Coach, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, and we appreciate you joining us to fill us in a little bit more on your big man. First of all, tell us about him as far as a basketball player goes. We know he's young as far as playing the game, and is he a guy that's just kind of raw and over time is going to develop some really good skills?
Absolutely. His best basketball is still ahead of him. This will be his first full year of actually playing. He's only been playing the game of basketball for the past 2.5 years, and a legit 7 foot, has a great body, 250 pounds at about 4% body fat, and he ran track till he was about 16 or 17 years old, so he can really run the floor well.
What can he become as a basketball player?
I think he can become, just right now he's can make an impact right away just on the defensive end. He really moves his feet well and can really block and alter shots. Offensively, he's a good offensive rebounder. He can use his athleticism to, really control the offensive glass and does a great job of catching dump-offs. His back to the basket game is just going to take some time, just because, like I said, this will be his first full year of playing with the basketball program. And as he gets that feel, I think he'll be a guy that you can throw it to on the low block and he can get you some points.
You mentioned he was a track guy. He was a track guy up until the last couple of years. Now he's turned his attention to basketball. The things that he did in track, what were some of those events, and how has that the skills that he developed there, how will those help him in basketball?
Well, he did your sprints and some long distance running. I just think when you're 7 feet and you have a big that can move as well as he can and runs the floor, I think that's what you want from your big man. So it's really helped him kind of, even though his skill set and low post moves aren't there yet, he can make an impact right away just by running the floor and putting pressure on the defense, and then just being able to move around to hedge on a ball screen or even switch out and keep a guy in front of him and help and rotate and block shots. Just the agility and mobility that he got from his years of running track has really helped him.
In Coach Brad Brunell's offense, a lot of the half court is predicated on big men setting good screens. Is he learning or adept is using his body to set screens at both the low and high post?
Yes, he is, and he's got a big body. You see him. He takes up a lot of space, and all those things he's learning. He played in a prep school for a couple months last year in the States, but really when he was in England, all he really did was do individual workouts. So, getting used to setting good screens and then rolling hard to the basket. Those are all things he's picking up and that he's going to develop over time, but he definitely has the physical tools to be a great screener and then, able to roll and catch the ball and make a play with it.
Talking with Coach Patrick Blake from Chipola Junior College in Florida about Legend Roberton. Now, he was at Believe Prep in Rock Hill, as you mentioned. Has he ever been to Clemson, or did he commit sight unseen to the Tigers?
Sight unseen. He did his own research, and really it was a thing when we got him, we thought it would be a process where he would sign late, but Coach Riley, when he got on staff at Clemson, one of his first stops was to Chipola, and him and Legend hit it off right away, and then Coach Brunell the same way. And after there are a few visits down here, Legend came up to me and just was really a big fan of those two, felt really comfortable with them, really loved everything he researched on their program. What a great job Coach Brunell does in developing his post players. And it was just one of those things where he felt the time was right and was ready to make a decision.
Which other schools really pushed for him in recruiting?
He had interest. Kansas called on him the other day. Oklahoma State has been in to see him. Indiana, Pittsburgh, Alabama, Tennessee. I mean, everyone across the country showed a lot of interest, but it never really got to the point in the recruitment process like it did with Clemson. It was a thing where, for whatever reason, I guess just how comfortable he felt with Coach Riley and Coach Barnell, the relationship that they formed, Legend and his family just felt like it was the best place for him.
Mm-hmm. And he will sign in November, and looks good academically with him. No issues there as far as his stuff transferring to Clemson.
Right. No, he's a great student. He has a 3.0 GPA and is on track to graduate in spring on time.
All right. Well, Clemson has a long-standing relationship with Chipola Junior College, so they strike again. Going back to the days of Cliff Ellis with Chipola.
Right, absolutely. Coach Ellis, I've been fortunate enough since I've been down here at Chipola to be able to spend some time with him and pick his brain. And he comes around every now and then, and he's just been a great ambassador of this area, being from around here, and has helped me so much, and just allowing me to kind of call him anytime I need something, and any basketball question I have, he's always there to help.
Yeah, especially when he sings. You ever hear him sing?
I actually did. I saw him and his band perform a couple months ago at a function we had, and I told him I was going to videotape it, but he's actually really talented.
Yes, he is.
I'm sure a lot of people don't know that.
Yes, yeah. Hey, listen, he's not shy about it, and he'll be happy to sing for you and strut a little bit out there too. So, well, listen, we appreciate you being with us. Good luck this season. We'll keep in touch and check in with you on Legend to see how the season's coming along, and good luck to you and your guys this upcoming season.
All right, thanks a lot.
Thank you. All right, Coach Patrick Blake from Chipola Junior College in Florida, 7 foot 250. Legend Robertson headed to Clemson. Sounds like a guy with a lot of athletic skills, probably has a lot of work to do in terms of developing his offensive skills for ACC basketball, but it's nice to start with somebody who's 7 feet 250, who can already rebound and block some shots and run the floor for you.
Yeah, I was just looking at some other notes. I see here on ESPN's recruiting site, one other offer he did have was Wojo at Marquette.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Wojciechowski in his first year.
All right, back to the phones we go, 800-956-7266. Let's go to Ronnie in North Augusta, next up here on Sports Talk. Hey, Ronnie, how are you?
Good, Phil. How y'all doing tonight?
Doing fine.
I'm sitting there trying to convince myself of why I still think we can beat Clemson. I'm going to tell you why, then y'all can tell me how crazy I am. But has Clemson got a better defense than we do? Yeah. But with Deshaun, even with Deshaun Watson at quarterback, I'd call it at best an even our offense against their offense. But this is where perception plays into everything, and you can't change things because this is what happened. But if you take the two games that we blew with Kentucky and Missouri, you turn around and take the two that Clemson did what they were supposed to do and hung on and won at the end of the ball game when they could have easily lost both of them. But that's what good teams do. They find a way to win. How much different would the perception be going into that Carolina-Clemson game? Would everybody be saying, but we don't have a prayer to win that game?
No, it'd be totally different if you had hung on to win your two games. You'd be looking at this South Carolina season totally different. If they were, what would they be? They'd be 6-1.
Yeah, if I had $999,000 more in my bank account, I'd be a millionaire. I mean,
you only have $1?
Yeah,
but you can't beat yourself.
Negative. I'm like negative.
It will be negative when you gave me 21.
21 points.
I don't need 21. I'm taking the 21.
How many do you want?
21's fine.
Okay.
I don't need the 21.
You want the 21.
Be right back. Oh, ye of little faith out there in Gamecock land. Everywhere I turn, Gamecock fans are just pouting over this game against Auburn, and I'm just saying that you've got a reasonable chance to win this game, a reasonable chance if you play good football. Now, the offense is capable of putting points on the board. I agree the defense is very scary. Can they stop anybody? Can they stop this Auburn offense? You know, they're going to have to play a great game on defense. They're going to play the best game of their season.
And Auburn's got to mess up.
And Auburn's got to help them some. Sure. It's when you're a 18-point underdog, you got to have some help. You got to play a near perfect game. I give you that. But I want to go back. We were talking earlier in the show about South Carolina's offense and the defense. And my point is that I was making in their losses to Kentucky and Missouri, the offense has to help too. You know, they got the lead. That's right. The offense did their job, and their defense did their job. The defense held those teams down long enough for the offense to build a 2-touchdown lead in both cases. But the offense didn't do its job moving forward in the fourth quarter because they didn't keep the ball. They ended up punting. Defense didn't do its job, didn't keep them out of the end zone. So it was a team loss. I don't think you can point strictly at the defense.
But my point is you always wanted – I mean, I think a defense, if I'm a coach and they say, what can you have? And an average game manager quarterback and a great defense, or a great quarterback and a below average defense. I'll take the great defense. If you have a great defense you bring to the ballpark every game, you're going to be in that game. You know the defense is going to give you a chance. Then it's up to your offense just to make some plays. That's been the MO. But that's how the Gamecocks have won 30-plus games in the past 3 years.
I give you that. But you also have a quarterback who can make plays, all right? If Perry Orth was South Carolina's starting quarterback, and no knock against the kid, but if he were the starting quarterback,
right,
would they have a chance even with a good defense? No.
With their running game? I mean,
because everybody would line up. You'd have 7, 8 in the box against the running game.
But my point is Dylan Thompson isn't the problem.
You have to have a quarterback who's a threat. Now, Dylan Thompson's not the problem.
No, not at all. The offense isn't the problem.
The defense is the biggest problem. There's no doubt about it. But I am saying that the offense, when they had those 2 touchdown leads in those 2 games, they came apart too.
I think you could argue
they came apart too.
The offense has scored enough in every game to win.
Here's the thing about coming apart. You know, you're going to have at least 4 or 5 offensive drives a game. That's what happens. South Carolina gets a 2-score lead and you go into the fourth quarter. Now you got to get their offense off the field. What has happened to South Carolina's defense and special teams, for that matter, is once they got the 2-score lead, they let the other team answer, and quickly. And so now that 2-score lead is a 1-score lead. Now, in my observation field, and I may be way off base, but here's where I think the problem is. Steve Spurrier has Dylan Thompson, who's more in the quarterback he has been used to in his history. So let's close this out. Let's throw the football. He called pass plays and Connor Shaw did it, but Connor would take off and not throw it. He'd take his headset off, but Connor would get the first down.
That's what I'm saying.
Maybe he should run the football.
They missed that element, though.
No, but you run the football.
We'll be right back.
Run the football.
More calls. right, 800-956-7266, the number here on Sports Talk. We'll get back to your phone calls in a moment. Let me update a couple of things. Been so busy, we haven't had a chance to get to some of the news notes. SEC media and coaches have voted South Carolina the favorite to win the women's basketball championship this year, ahead of Tennessee, Texas A&M, Kentucky, and Vanderbilt. And the preseason player of the year is USC's Tiffany Mitchell, and also on the preseason all-conference team from USC is Alicia Welch. And you said what? They sold 6,000 season tickets, bro?
6,000 season tickets.
That's pretty big for women's basketball around here. Charleston Southern's game at Coastal Carolina Saturday has been picked up by television in the Charleston area. My TV, WMMP, in Charleston is going to televise that game. Kickoff will be at 3:30 at Brooks Stadium. And ACC announced today the future games for Notre Dame involving league teams. Clemson will play Notre Dame 4 times between 2015 and 2023. Notre Dame comes to Clemson next season, October 3rd. Tigers go to South Bend in 2020 and 2022. Notre Dame comes back to Death Valley in 2023. Exact dates for those other games are still to be determined. Big story in NASCAR today. The folks at NASCAR, they were looking at Ryan Newman's car, and for a while there, it thought that there might be a penalty for his car being too low. I think it was the back end being too low at Talladega. Apparently, they cleared all that up. He was not penalized. He's still in the chase. As we welcome in Chip Weil, president of Darlington Raceway, to talk a little NASCAR with us here for a few minutes on this Tuesday night, on this Talking Tuesday. So, bit of a scare there for Newman, but he gets through all that, and he's on and into the chase, and we're set to go with the final 8 to get it down to 4.
How about that? What a great for the weekend in Talladega. I was actually in Talladega all weekend, and you could feel the intensity felt from the competitors to the garage area, even the fans. What an intense race. You know, folks were in, they were out. Kyle Busch, like he was going to make it through, then got into a big wreck. Brad Keselowski knew he had one mission when he got there, which was to win in order to move to the next round. He did just that. And if you gave Brad 10 more chances on that last lap, I don't think he could do what he did again. An amazing drive by him, and what a great car that 2 team put together for him.
Yeah, I tell you, it really couldn't have ended up any better for NASCAR in terms of the excitement for television, the fans in the stands. They were on their feet for much of the latter part of the race, and you had the drama with Dale Jr., and you had the drama with Jimmy Johnson. You had Danica Patrick leading the most laps ever for a woman in NASCAR racing. You had a lot of stuff going on in those final laps.
Yeah, Talladega breeds that kind of racing where anybody in the field truly has an opportunity to win. I know we talk about how close the competition each and every week is in our sport, but when you show up at Talladega, regardless if you're a $50 million team or a $3 or $4 million team, you have an opportunity to win. You got to put yourself in the right spot, and Sunday was a perfect example of that. Brad Keselowski, one of the powerhouse teams in the sport, finishes first, but the 40 car, Blandon Castle, very underfunded, finishes 4th. It just goes to show that you got to be in the right place at the right time, make the right calls on the road, and look what happens. You get a good run. So again, all in all, I would say it was a highly successful weekend for the racetrack, for the industry, and now we move on to Martinsville.
Yeah, I got to believe the folks at NASCAR, the hierarchy, they have to be ecstatic over the way this new format is playing out this season.
Yeah, I actually had the opportunity to go hunting with Mike Helton on Thursday, and him and I spent about 3 hours together, just him and I, and we had a long conversation about the change in the sport with the point system, and he, along with everybody else in NASCAR, is so positive. The feedback they've gotten from our fans, from the industry, from the drivers, has all been overwhelmingly positive. And I think that shows in the ratings, shows in the attendance in the stands, and it certainly shows in us being relevant for 10 straight weeks. That was the goal. And so far, so good. We're more than halfway through the chase, and this new format seems to really be working.
All right, so here's the question. Are they going to leave it alone?
Yeah, you know what? I think they will. I asked Mike that question too. I don't think that NASCAR is going to make any changes. You know, they talked about tweaking the system, but I think we've all agreed that what they did really worked. I mean, everybody seems to be on board and enjoying this year's competition. So I don't envision them making any change.
The storyline going forward as we move deeper into the chase, will it be a changing of the guard with youngsters like Logano and Keselowski, or the sentimental favorite finally wins another title in Jeff Gordon?
You know, that's a good question. If you're looking at stats, Jeff Gordon's probably the favorite. We're going to racetracks where he's dominated over the years. You know, Martinsville, he's won more Martinsville races than just about anybody. Texas, he's certainly had a lot of success in Texas. Phoenix, he's had a lot of success. So that team's proven they have the speed. It's just a matter of getting lucky. I truly believe that the teams that have made it this far, they've been very good, but they've also had a lot of luck. And I think that plays into it. I think you got to have everything go your way, and you got to be lucky in order to win. So I still believe that, and I know y'all are going to argue, but I still believe that the 4 car is the favorite to win. They've had speed all year. They finally got another win 2 weeks ago. They were strong this last week. We're going to racetracks where Kevin does run well. And I truly believe that 4 car is the car to beat as we go to Homestead.
All right. What's happening at Darlington right now? You got anything cooking here as we go into the latter part of the year?
Yeah, you know, actually today I took our entire team over to Florence and we built a house for Habitat for Humanity and had a great day. It was a really rewarding experience for everybody on the staff. And we're gearing up for our 2nd annual Speed and Feed barbecue contest and car show on November 7th and 8th. So free event at the racetrack in the Sprint Cup Series garage, live entertainment, kids games, all free if you want to try the barbecue, $5 wristband each day. Big festival. Last year we had 6,000 or 7,000 people show up. We're expecting double that this year. So excited about that event, and then maybe shutting it down for a little bit before we start gearing up for 2015.
That sounds great. Listen, we'll talk to you next week. We'll see what happens at Martinsville. See if like you said, Gordon's won a lot there. See if he can hold service, and we move on from there. And it's going to be very exciting down the stretch. And we'll talk to you next week.
Look forward to it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. All right. Chip Weil, president of Darlington, with us here tonight on Sports Talk.
That NASCAR check that home they built for Habitat of Humanity because the roof might be too low.
Yeah, make sure everything fits specifications. Back to the phones we go, and we head to Bear up in York. Hello, Bear. Welcome into Sports Talk.
How you doing, guys?
Hey, we're doing great. How are you?
Doing good. Hey, I just want to go back to the discussion you guys were having about South Carolina and the quarterback situation. I'm not gonna lie to you, buddy. They're in a world of hurt next year, in my opinion. I think Spurrier is going to find himself in a situation that he hasn't found himself in a long time. You talking about no experience at quarterback, and obviously that's his forte. So, I mean, I just want to get you guys' opinion on that. With Dylan Thompson, leaving and you getting no experience, from any of the other quarterbacks, to me, it's not looking good. So what do you guys think?
Yeah, I would say that's a scary situation. Nobody wants to be in a position where you're going into the season with a quarterback with no experience. Clemson faced that this year, and they have survived it. Of course, they had an ace in the hole in Deshaun Watson. Now, the public hadn't seen much of Deshaun Watson, but Chad Morris, Dabo Swinney, they've seen a good bit. They kind of knew what they had in him, and they were ready to launch him at some point in time. And Cole Stout's proven to be a capable backup and a decent starter. We'll talk more about this after the break, but you do bring up a good point. I would say part of the saving grace is that they'll have some other good parts of the offense returning, but you need that trigger man. We'll be right back. All right, we're back. 800-956-7266 is the phone number here on Sports Talk. Want to finish up with the previous caller's question. And, you know, South Carolina is going to lose A.J. Cann, Corey Robinson. They're going to lose Cody Gibson. They're probably going to lose Brandon Shell off their offensive line. So they're going to lose some significant pieces there. They lose Dylan Thompson, the quarterback. They lose Rory Anderson. They lose Demir Bird. They lose Nick Jones. So they take a significant hit on the offense as well. Now, they do have among the returners on the offense. Will Sport will be back. Sean Carson, Mike Davis probably not. Brennan Wiles will likely be back. Jarrell Adams probably will be back. Shaq Rowland should be back. The Stadniks will be
David
back.
Williams.
Waldrop will be back. David Williams. Yeah. So they got players returning on the offense, but you're right. The quarterback situation should make for some sleepless nights for Gamecock offensive coaches, not having a proven commodity and having to open up on the road or neutral site, but away from home against North Carolina on national television next year. I don't know. Connor Mitch, I can't believe – I mean, I hate to be negative about somebody that I've never seen play, but I can't believe that Perry Orth is going to – if Perry Orth is a factor in your quarterback competition, that doesn't say much about your quarterback recruiting. I mean, a walk-on coming in and taking snaps, unless he's just great, it just developed late and becomes
he was the
great,
first one in.
is a surprising thing.
That was a message sent at Mitch.
And maybe Lorenzo Nunez is going to come in and be a great quarterback prospect. But who knows? I just think it's a big question mark for South Carolina next year.
That's the good news. You have the rest of this season. You have all the spring, all the summer
to
get that result. You gotta beat Auburn on Saturday, and that's Dylan Thompson.
What is my thinking is, wasn't Steve Spurrier's first quarterback at Florida walk-on Shane Matthews?
I think he was. He turned out to be pretty good.
Was Matthews a walk-on?
I think he was. But I don't think anybody's comparing Perry Orth to Shane Matthews at this point.
At this point. Well, you didn't know what would do because he walked on. Nobody.
But people that are upset that these guys haven't played more this season, until Furman, when would you put these guys in? Did you see what they did against Furman? That's why they aren't playing in big games that are on the line. You want to throw them in against Georgia when the game's on the line? Is that when you want to throw one of those guys out there? Or against East Carolina when it was a 7-point game on the last drive?
Can't do it.
Or no, Missouri, that was a tight game. You needed Dylan Thompson out there. So to criticize Spurrier for not throwing out a quarterback just to get him experience for next year, you don't sacrifice a game this year. They haven't had opportunities. They might on Saturday, though, when Auburn's up 45 points in the third quarter.
Stateman's telling us Matthews was on scholarship, but I think he came there as a walk-on.
He came there as a walk-on.
Eventually went on scholarship.
Sure? I think Pope might be. I thought.
Yeah, I'm almost sure he came there as a walk-on.
Let's get back to the phones. We'll look that up. We go to Towns in Greenville. Hello, Towns, and welcome to Sports Talk. I'm sorry, Greenwood. Towns in Greenwood. Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm fine. Phil, how are you?
Hey, we're doing great.
Good. Yeah, I've been following the quarterback conversation. I got a little input here.
Yeah.
For what it's worth. Number one, I saw some of the game against Furman. God bless Orth and Mitch, but, my goodness. I mean, my goodness. What was it? Mitch fell down, dropping back, and Orth, those guys, I don't care when you put them in. I mean, if they could play, Spurrier would have found time to put them in, regardless of how close any game was. I mean, they may develop. Maybe we're waiting on Mitch, to turn the corner. Who knows? I mean, he came in highly touted. But my suggestion is this. Number one, you hope Nunez will come in January and benefit from spring training. He's a talented athlete with a lot of potential, but a true freshman out of high school. My question for you guys is this. Who is opposed and why to pursuing the Kelly kid that Dabo conveniently got rid of in order to open the door for Watson. If Kelly was still there, you talk about team, you talk about some division. Not that Kelly is a divisive kind of guy. And even if he is, you know, you have to think maybe he's learned. I mean, I read something the other day, a recruit that we're wanting to get in here, a defensive guy playing on the same junior college team with him, says Kelly's okay. He just wants to play.
Yeah, that was
offense.
That was DJ Jones, and yeah, you know, I've asked that question here. Why would there be opposition to at least recruit Kelly? You see where you're at in the quarterback position. Say what you will about Chad Kelly. Two things he does have, we all agree. He has an attitude and he has talent. And South Carolina may have neither at quarterback to start next season. We'll be back. Don't go away.
But the leadership comments are also very strong. I think that fires a shot right across the bow of junior starter Jeff Driscoll. That's
And we need to touch on this situation at Academic Magnet
Watermelon Gate
High School, where the coach has been fired as both the football coach and the girls basketball coach because earlier in the season, after a win over Military Magnet, team members smashed watermelons, and that upset some people. Apparently, some people thought they were making some kind of sounds or something.
Well, they thought there was ape sounds coming, and they thought it was a racial thing. And it was one of the parents from the other team that thought he overheard something. No one else could play. In fact, the coach for Military Magnet said, I didn't see anything. I know the coach's name, who escapes me now, who's been there for 10 years.
At where? Academic
Walpole. Magnet. Yeah, Walpole. Said he's a respectable guy. And, you know, no ill intent as long as I've known him. But
so
anyway,
why has it gotten to this
he was
point?
fired. Yeah. And the district didn't even talk to him about it. They fired him. And let's say the players did that. I mean, there should be discipline and correction, certainly. But unless the coach told them to go do it and said, you know, it's okay with us.
job.
And this happened September 5th. It again, I think Gene Sapikoff, I just read a piece that he did in the Post and Courier where he cited it as another example of bad adults messing things up for good kids. And we've seen this, for whatever reasons, hit the Low Country pretty hard. With Goose Creek had the situation where they got booted out of the playoffs, and now a coach here gets fired for something that seems.
Let me read some of Bud Walpole's statement real
Go
quick,
ahead.
running short on time. He said, truly sorry to anyone whom my actions or inactions may have offended. I bear ultimate responsibility for any actions our players take as a group. Even though their actions were not meant to be offensive, we need to be aware of how our actions are perceived by others. And that's just some of the statement that's been tweeted out by Jeff Hartzell.
And so that should be the teaching. I mean, the teaching moment is, okay, you know what, guys, we didn't mean it that way. We can see how, we were making Raptors. We can see how that would be offensive. We're not going to do that anymore. Our bad. And if it was intentional, okay, the guys that did it, you're off the team. But you don't fire the coach. And they had a press conference today. I was watching it in the newsroom with our news team, who you can get more coverage on our news website. It was surreal. I mean, the school district superintendent had no answer. She said, draw your own conclusions. It was a clown show. They should be embarrassed down there how they handled it.
I think the last thing that should be done in any situation where there's a teaching moment is jeopardizing or stripping somebody of their livelihood.
Do we have any evidence? Do we have any video evidence? Or is it just somebody's eyewitness account? Because you can't
just
trust
lost eyewitness
accounts.
Objection, hearsay.
Well, yeah, you can't trust eyewitness accounts a lot of times. They get misconstrued. They get twisted and turned to fit their narrative.
I still say this is,
if there's no video or audio evidence, then I think you're stepping out of bounds here and firing the guy. I think you're right, K-Mac. Let him do some other stuff, but forcing the guy out might be a little bit on the harsh side in this case. All right, that'll do it. SEC Men's Basketball Media Day tomorrow over in Charlotte. We'll have that covered for you tomorrow night and a whole bunch more. Thank you, K-Mac Pro Steak Man. Have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow.